Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Focused Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley, and we have a secret podcast topic today. Well, it's not secret to Heather, but it's secret to me. And she told me she wanted to do a podcast. She was not going to tell me what about. So we were here and we're here, and I'm dying. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about because I always love these conversations and bringing these podcast episodes to you. So, Heather, welcome back to the podcast for the super secret topic. That's hard to say.
Thank you so much for having me. So the reason I wanted to approach it this way is because I wanted to get your reaction in real time.
Oh,
I
boy.
wanted to present this to you and see what your thoughts are because I have a thought that you might, I don't know how you're going to react to this. So let's lay some groundwork. We came home from Progress Lab a few weeks ago, which was awesome, by the way. It was off the charts. I loved every minute, every second, helping people with their transformations. And I had a situation. I had some thoughts when I came home. I thought everything was awesome, by the way. But I came home, and a few days after I got back, I had a call with my business coach. And you will never guess what the topic of conversation was. Do you want to guess? No, you don't need to guess. You don't know.
I don't know.
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
It was you.
Me? Are you breaking up with me in public?
I had a call with my coach about you. I wanted to talk about you and our relationship. And okay, what is happening in your brain right now?
Well, all of a sudden I'm like, well, that would be really mean if she was taking me onto my own podcast to break up with me. She wouldn't do that. But
No.
that's kind of where my brain goes. It's like, oh, there's a problem. It just goes to, oh, there was a problem. There was something that was bad.
Yes. Yeah. Which makes sense because why would I go to my coach about it? But in reality, our issues are never about someone else. Our issues are because of something we are thinking about someone else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I said to
about me.
Okay. Do you want to hear my thoughts about you?
Yes.
So I said to my coach, hey, I just spent a week with like my best friend, business partner. We operate so well together, but I'm having some thoughts that I just need help like reconciling. So we were in your car and we were driving to one of our venues, and you were explaining all the things that you had managed and were handling. And I heard you talking about all of these pretty complex logistics that you have to manage while we're also teaching.
Yeah. As any workshop planning happens. Yep.
And I know that you do this. I know that this is your thing, and I know that you're really good at it. But as you're explaining all of the things you're managing, and by the way, you're just talking. You're like, oh, we're going to do this, and then we're going to go do that, and then I'm going to stop with this, and then we're going to, okay. And I was in the back seat. I'm pretty sure I was drooling because this is what I said to my coach. I said, I was drooling in the back seat because I cannot wrap my brain around the complexity of the logistics that she can manage. That was my leading statement. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah. You are increasing your capacity for complexity.
I am, and I have for sure. But I went on to say, I'm really good at creating content and teaching and coaching. Like that is for sure my zone of genius. And Nicole is as well, but she is also good at putting these workshops together, managing the logistics. I mean, she can literally take care of anything and everything. And I feel, I don't know, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be as good as her. Like she is so good at this stuff. And because I have you in my brain as successful, and I know that successful people leave clues, I think in my brain, I need to be more like you. Like there's a deficiency here. If I'm not more like you, something is wrong.
Right, because you can't be successful if you're not good at logistics, or you have somebody else do that.
Correct. That's what my brain was telling me. I mean, it's ridiculous, when you say it, and it's laughable. But I have in front of me a page of notes that I want to share with you and your audience because I think there is a parallel here to when photographers compare themselves to other photographers. And we have all heard, comparison is the thief of joy. You shouldn't compare the start of your journey to year 7 for someone, blah, 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 blah. I'm so sick of those platitudes because I've heard them, I've known them my whole life, and those thoughts did not help me in the back of your
No,
car that day.
no, no, they don't help really any of us when you're in the midst of it, because the comparison is such a deep ingrained human need. That's what our brain is braining.
My brain was braining so hard I couldn't even think or apparently swallow my own saliva. So I mean, I even said, I think it was Amanda sitting next to me. I'm like, I don't know how she does this. I'm like, I can't even wrap my head around this. Now, when you tell me, Heather, show up at this time and teach, I'm like, let's go. I can do
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
Heather, it's time for you to coach. Okay. I am very good there. But if you said, Heather, I need you to plan the food, for example, for a week-long workshop, no, ma'am. No, it's just not happening. That is your zone of genius.
Uh, oh, I mean, I will plan food all day, every day, and you can bet there will not be any fruit mixed with the chocolate
Oh
at
my
any
gosh.
event that I go to, period, done.
Yeah. This was a problem actually when we did do the grocery shopping. I grabbed all the fruit, she grabbed all
Hey,
the chocolate.
I said I will allow people to have fruit in my events. It is allowed. It is not a fruit-free zone. It is a fruit and chocolate mixed up free zone.
That
Although
is so generous of you.
I have on a past. I'm not a monster, Heather. In the past, we have had desserts that were like chocolate and fruit, and the
Wow.
chef just knew to make mine separate
Oh
without
my
any of
word.
that fruit touching it.
Okay. Okay. So, as I was working through this with my coach, one thing I recognized is that when I start comparing myself to people like
Mhm,
you who
mhm.
are temperamentally different than I am, I miss what I have to offer.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'm dishonoring myself when I compare because I'm completely missing myself or what I bring to the table because I am only focused on the lack. So this is classic gap and gain mentality, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm focused on where I lack. There's a huge gap here and I'll never be like you. I'll never be as good as you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm
Yeah.
not
Well,
thinking of what I bring.
here's the crazy part. So, as you're telling me this, I'm like, man, I'm like in awe watching you coach our students during our 3 days of progress lab. I mean, Action Girl had her day. But during the first 2 days when we're so into thoughts, I'm just like, wow, man. And there's part of me that's like, oh, I wish I could coach at that level. Hey, don't get me wrong. I can coach. I can coach.
Yes,
My
yes,
students know I
yes.
can coach. But like there was a whole new level of coaching genius that you share at these events when you can start to get like really deep with people and like really dig into these different faces and really start to like make some really huge transitions. So yeah, so the other piece about that too is this has happened at numerous workshops where we start to dig into this like kind of confidence thing, and the same thing where people are looking at other people in the group and they're comparing and they're wishing they were more like so and so. And at the most recent Hound Vision that I teach with Kaylee and Sam, we're sitting there and we're chatting, and one of the people is like, "Man, I wish I could be so confident like this person over here," and that person's like, "Oh, I wished I could be so confident as you over there." So
Hmm.
they both wanted the confidence that they thought the other person had that they felt like they didn't have, and it turns out the other person felt exactly the same way.
That's phenomenal. Isn't that something? Like, you just don't know. And what if we just make a great team? You and I make a great team
Oh, heck yeah.
because of the things we augment with one another,
Mhm.
not because we are the same exact person. The world couldn't handle two of us, like two
No,
identical Nicole Heather people. It
be
wouldn't
too much.
work. Yeah, it would be too much. And furthermore, are you willing? I asked myself this question. Am I willing to give up my zone of genius in coaching to be better at logistics?
No.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't even make sense, right? So why not look and honor for like what I'm good at, what I bring to the table, and what you bring to the table, and seek out more time with you at these events or teaching, whether that's in person or online, because we make such a great team.
Yeah. No, I love it. I've got me and my Monday boards have got you covered.
And your zaps.
In my zaps.
Like just getting really proud of what we've created together.
Mhm.
And also, I wrote this in my notes. I'm looking at my notes, getting curious about the parts of me that I have judgment towards. Like, why am
Oh.
I judging my inability to plan logistics?
Well, yeah, and is it judgment from a place of like, "Oh, this is bad that I can't do it." Is that driven from a place of thinking that that is a critical piece of being successful? Like, there's no way you can be successful if you're not good at logistics.
So when you say that's so funny because of course that doesn't make any sense, but in my brain before I verbalized it, yes, that is what I thought.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
that my brain looks at you as successful, therefore every component of everything you do must be
What's
mimicked. Must
required.
right.
Mhm.
I must be good at all of these things Nicole does.
You can turn this around too. I see it a lot in the photography industry where people see someone successful and they're like, oh, all right, I need to price like them. I need to
Yes.
shoot like them. I need to run my business just like them. I need to have a personality like them. And they're like trying to like straight up clone their entire life. And really, the people that reach the levels of success are never the people that are like trying to fit in whatever they think success should be. It's the people that have just been like, all right, I'm finding my path. I'm finding what I love. I'm finding my unique whatever that you're bringing into the business. And then that is what really drives the success of any business, whether it's photography or something else. Um, so yeah, so I guess like here's a question. How can we ask or like what question can we ask people to help them determine what their version of success is if they're basing that
Mm,
off of comparison from someone else
mm.
or if they are like really going just like head down in what their zone of genius is.
That's a great question about a question.
I know
It's
we're
like
getting really deep and meta
yeah,
here.
yeah. But you're right. I think that the people who are really successful honor themselves in where they are successful, the components they are successful in, and they
Mhm,
don't dishonor themselves by comparing. But the people who compare are just not being true to who they are and what they want. So there's the question. How can I gain more clarity about who I am and what I want? Period. With your
mhm,
blinders on, you know,
mhm,
nothing else. It's like you are a completely unique person, as am I, as are all of the photographers. Therefore, and by the way, it makes it easier to sell yourself
mhm,
when you know this and accept it. Like this is what I'm really, really good at. And you just own it and you honor it. I just, I was so blown away by this concept of dishonoring oneself when you're in comparison. And I just
mhm,
don't want to do that. I don't want to dishonor my skills. And I don't want anyone else out there to do that with the way they photograph, the way they set up their pricing, their personality. People have said to me, well, I can't be like you because I'm very outgoing in these events or, online even. And I'm like, who said you had to be like me? Why do you think, and by the way, I'm pointing this question directly back at myself.
right, right, right.
Why do you think you need to be exactly like this person to be successful? Is that actually true? Are you sure that it's true that the only way to be successful is to be good at logistics? It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. No,
Mhm,
I'm not sure that that's true. I know that this is, but again, you have to focus on, I know what I'm good at. And I know that there are very few people who can touch me in the coaching department. I
mhm,
own that. I know I'm good at it. I feel like I'm making a difference and changing lives. It's so fulfilling. That's what I loved about Progress Lab, helping people and then just feeling so filled up by that. So why when I got home did I focus on not being able to get food scheduled? It's like so dumb. It
Mm.
doesn't even make sense. So why would you compare yourself? Also, if you're a pet photographer in, say, Vermont, why are you comparing yourself to someone in Southern California?
Mhm.
I mean, even next door, but I'm just saying, like, it's nothing about it is the same. It's
Yeah.
just different.
Well, this reminds me too of I help a lot of people with pricing because that is my zone of genius and superpower. And every single business is different and can have different pricing and can be successful with different pricing. And this is like one of my soapboxes that anybody that's teaching you that like has to be priced a certain way or there's one pricing strategy or this or that, like there's a gazillion based on what your goals are in your business. And I will be on a freedom focus formula call teaching somebody or like coaching two different photographers that have maybe one is on the Swift level, just selling kind of digital files, getting started, or, even like a Stork level 2, where they have some products, but digital forward kind of collections, where somebody else is at an Eagle level and they're all about the products and the signature piece. And I'm coaching both of them on the same
Mm,
call to lean into that difference, even though if they were in the same market, and there are people in the same market on both of those levels at all times, um, they kind of contradict each other.
mm,
Like the digital file forward collection person at the Stork level is leaning into like, hey, you're getting all your files. Hey, like files, files, files. Where you know, the product based person is like, hey, you're getting this beautiful artwork. Like they're basically like at odds from each other because the same person's not going to be attracted to both. But by really leaning into that difference, they're going to attract the right person for them at that stage of their business. So, I mean, you can look at this so many ways with your style. So maybe you're like, I really just want to photograph dogs riding in the water. Great. Like, I guarantee you there are people in your market that would want a epic giant piece of art of that. Or like I love to photograph more urban in the city or, whatever it is, like lean into it. There are people doing that. And just because you see someone having success in a different version of that or a different, something different about it doesn't mean that's the only way to do it.
that's such a good point. Like, is the only way for me to be successful as a teacher and mentor is to be able to do everything? Like,
Right.
right? Plan an event, work on the logistics, and teach and coach and create content. I would argue if that were the case, then I probably wouldn't be good at any of those things because I would
Yeah.
be spreading myself around trying to do all of those things. But I even said to you leading up to Progress Lab, I was like, hey, you just tell me when to show up, where to be, and I will be there and I will coach their faces off. I will
Hmm.
create content, I will teach, I will help people with breakthroughs and transformations. I will probably make people cry and it will be fantastic. And I feel really good about that. It's just always interesting to me how the brain tries to beat you down.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
it wants you to feel negative. So I come home, you took me to the airport, you said, how did I think it went? I was like, amazing. Like the most amazing time ever. Loved every minute of every second. And then I get home and I'm like, but I'm kind of a loser. Like, what? How does that even I don't even know. I wish I could have caught it a little bit sooner and been like, "Okay, brain." I mean, I got home on a Friday. This call with my coach was Monday. And it's not I didn't like sit around ruminating about it all weekend at all. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
It was just like came up and I thought, "Oh, that's interesting how my brain is I don't know, trying to make me feel worse about myself.
Hmm.
Is that its job?"
Well, it's trying to protect you. So, I mean, maybe it's trying to protect you and it's trying to look at always trying to make sense of different patterns and things like that. So, I think by default our brain's like, "Oh, see, that's what we need. That's what we need." I mean, it's always think about it when we have success or we have wins, like it's so easy to forget them because our
Mm,
brain is so focused on, yeah, but next. Yeah, but this. Yeah, but you're not here.
yeah.
I mean, that's just what it does, which is just kind of rude.
It is so rude. And what I learned from this experience is that I can relish in the success of others and we can become richer in the experience of others, but not at our own expense. Like, I can appreciate your skill set and say, wow, man, that's awesome that she can do that. It's okay that I can't. And as a team, we're unfreaking stoppable.
Yeah.
So I just need to seek out more things alongside of you so that, again, I said this, so that we can augment one another with this skill set.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can plan a vacation. This is my superpower. Do you remember that, oh gosh, how long ago was it? I guess about a little over a year ago, my Belize trip that
I
the
do.
Airbnb that we
I
had booked
do.
canceled on us about 72 hours prior to our flight, because they double booked it and they kicked us out.
Which is insane, can we just say, to begin
I
with?
know. But if there is one thing I could do under pressure, Heather,
I know. I know.
it is plan a freaking vacation. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to the airport and getting on a plane to Belize on Saturday. I don't know where I'm staying yet, but I'll figure that out.
I've watched you do this. I mean, I can right now name 5 times in the past 2 years where you've done this,
Oh,
where
mhm.
major things have happened. Well, see, in my mind, like uncontrollable, like out of your control, truly, it
Oh, like
happens.
us not being allowed in New Zealand?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
That was one. That was probably the most stressful piece. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think it's almost every single workshop, knock on wood.
yeah,
But like for this one, for this progress lab, we
the
had a house
house.
issue. We ended up
Mhm.
switching houses about 3 weeks out. Won't get into all the details, but I just remember boxing you. I'm like, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, I know you've got it. I'm like,
I
that's
wasn't
not what
worried.
I want right now. I need
I
a
was
solution.
not
Actually,
worried
girl
for
needs
a
a solution.
second. I knew you had. So let me ask you this, based on all of these events in like recent major events,
Yeah.
do you feel more confident in your ability to manage? Because I would think that would give you the skill of like, I don't fear anything. I don't fear the major logistics that involve a lot of money and a lot of people. It
Yeah.
would send me into a tailspin.
Yeah. Well, 2 things. I have the faith that it's all going to work out. And with the Belize house, with this progress lab house that we had to switch, I fully had the belief of like, all right, this or something better. Like it's going to be fine. And it always has worked out. So, yeah. And
So right.
yeah. So it's going to like, I also believe that there's always a solution. Like if there's a problem, there is a solution. You might not see it right away. Like we might be clouded in our judgment and it might be right in front of our face and we just don't notice it. But there is always a solution. So, it might be a little stressful in a short term, but I have that belief. So I think that allows me to then stay in a more neutral, calm state about it and see potential solutions faster than if I got all wound up and crazy about
Freaky.
it.
Yeah, that's definitely me. I go to the freak zone. I tend to have anxious thoughts. But you even said this to me yesterday. We were talking about something and you said, well, we don't have to figure that out now because I know there's a solution.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what were we even talking about?
Our businesses, different things we're doing
Yeah.
with Elevate
Oh,
and
yeah,
Freedom
yeah, yeah.
Focus
Right,
Formula.
right.
And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, there's a solution for that.
Yeah.
We don't need to know that now.
Right. Yes.
And that was great because how many of us get caught up in like, I've got to know how to figure this out right now. And I have to do it just like this other person. And I'm comparing myself. Listen, the biggest lesson for me here was how much I was dishonoring my skill set by comparing myself to you and then judging it. Like, my coach helped me see that there is wisdom in every situation. So she said, okay, you're in the car, you're drooling. Could you ask yourself, what is the wisdom here? What am I learning? It could be that I admire and respect that skill set, period. It doesn't have to mean anything about my capability. It's just, you're good at those things. I'm good at these things. Okay, great. Why do we think we have to be the best at everything and exactly like everyone else? I just don't know. That is kind of frustrating to me. But if you can catch it like a little bit faster and say, oh, that's so interesting. I'm feeling like crap because I think I should be like this person. And then asking yourself, should I? My coach called this the should monster. Like there's this monster, that you should be like that. And
Mm-hmm.
she said, well, why don't you say to that monster right back, should I? Really?
Yeah.
How do you know I should be that way? What's wrong with the way I am? What am I really good at? And when I started making a list of like the things I coached on and the breakthroughs and transformations we saw along with the tears, I was like, oh my gosh, I am operating in my zone of genius without question. And I'm so proud of what I've created and what we've created together. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
proud of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. So as we start to wrap this up, what do we want? I mean, I know one thing is like keeping tabs, again, all of these different things, like keeping tabs of your emotional state, like realizing when you're feeling frustrated or the comparison or like just anxious or stressed, like when you're feeling not great, what are you thinking? Because it's a thought that's causing that feeling. Same thing when you're feeling great. What are you thinking? All right, that's a good thought. Let's keep that thought.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that becomes like kind of the underarching best lesson of this whole entire podcast series. We're at like 250 episodes almost. And there's a lot of thoughts and feelings because they really truly drive everything. And our feelings are just a barometer of those thoughts.
Yeah, and it's like if you see someone that you look up to that's doing really well in their business, maybe they're making six figures, and you think that you should be further along, you're just dishonoring your journey.
Mhm.
And what do you actually want? So I admire and respect you probably more than, and I always say, like, if I could have Craig at night and Nicole during the day, I would be set. Like that's all I need. That's all I need. So because I have that level of admiration for you, I just want to be like you. I just want to, like, I look
Yeah.
at the things you do and I'm like, I want to be more like Nicole. So another quick example of that is you love to travel all over the world
Mhm.
multiple times per year. And I think I'm not like that. And there's this part of me is like, should I be like that? And then this was actually the same time in the car. I was like, no, because I don't want to spend 18 hours on an airplane. I just don't, unless maybe I was in business class. Maybe.
Well, yeah,
Maybe.
that does change things.
But instead of saying, oh my gosh, like I have all these googly eyes for you, like I should be more like her, saying, should I? Or like what? I can still respect and admire that and know and respect what I want. How can I gain more clarity on what I actually want? I don't want to fly across the world. Unless business class. I don't want to plan logistics. I just don't want to. And so I have to honor that, recognize it, and like own it. Like that's what I
Mhm.
want, and that's okay. Because in these other areas, I'm like really good. And I wouldn't trade that, because I
Yep.
love who I am. Truly, I do. But you just get into this like, I should be more like this person. Could you instead just reframe that thought and say, I respect that person. I admire what they're doing, and I'm awesome.
That's right. And you can leave the logistics to me any day.
Thank goodness. And if you asked me to do anything, the answer is yes. If you said, Heather, will you come teach this? I'd be like, yes, 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 yes. Because I have complete
Would you
trust
come
for you.
teach flying 18 hours on an airplane?
Well, that's a problem. And that's a problem. I
You're
just,
like, only if you book me business class, then yes.
yeah, exactly. And then I'm there all day long. I would actually argue that if you said to me, Heather, I'll get you to Africa in business class, but then I can't pay you to teach, but I need you to teach, I'd be like, I might do that. I might work for free if you would pay for that ticket.
Yeah. I think the only way to actually get to those long, like the Africa, Australia's on business class is playing that points and miles game because,
Yes.
oh my gosh, otherwise you're looking at like $7,000 to $10,000 ticket. What?
Which is
It's
just,
insane.
again, that to me is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I can see why people do it. If you had millions of dollars, like I could see that. I could see why people would spend that money because that's a pretty long
If I
time
had
to
that
be
much
in.
disposable income, I would not be opposed to it. But
Yeah.
for now, I choose to play the points and miles game to get that experience at a lot less expense. Oh my gosh, so good. All right, so for our photographer friends out there, Heather, what are your last kind of words of wisdom for them of how to own or step into and own like their own gifts and their own interests? Because like I have found that if you follow your interests and your passions, like you can never go wrong. So like double down on that.
Yeah, you've got to ask yourself, what do I love and what am I good at? And I am for real. Make a list.
Mm-hmm.
Make a list of the areas that you really excel in and honor it. Just when you're feeling like crap because of a comparison, it's going to happen probably daily. When that happens, you just like, I don't need to stay here. I don't need to stay in this crappy feeling because look at this list. Look at what I'm good at. You're never going to eliminate this challenge. I don't think, because if it's still happening for me and I am hyper aware of it, then I think this is just one of those things that the brain is going to do continuously. So you have to decide what you love about yourself, what you're good at, make that list and honor it. And if you need to stop following all of the photographers, then maybe consider doing that as well, because it might just not be good for your psyche. But for me, it's like, hey, I'm good at coaching. I love coaching. Put me in anywhere and I will do that. And so what if I'm not good at these other things? Because it doesn't have to mean anything. There is zero deficiency in what you're doing. Zero. An example is like people will say to me, it happened today. Someone said to me, well, I'm just not techie. I'm not tech like you. Because I always say I'm technical. I love it. And I'm like, are you not really? Because all of you figured out how to use that camera. Some of you figured out how to use a DSLR and then a mirrorless camera. And you're trying to tell me that you're not technical? I don't believe you. That's not true. You are. So, like, another part of that question is, where are you lying to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying to yourself. You are these people that say to me, I talked about this in the money course. They're like, I'm not good at math. And I'm like, false. 2 + 2. You can add, subtract. You can probably multiply and divide, but you have a calculator. So who cares? So don't say to me, anyone listening to my voice, don't ever say to me, you're not technical or you're not good at math. I just am not going to believe you. I just won't receive it.
I yell at my daughter every time she's like, I'm not good at math. I'm like,
Oh,
you're 2 years ahead in math and accelerated like college level math. You're taking AP calculus next year. Like,
stop
you're not
lying
good
to
at math?
yourself.
Okay, you can say math isn't my favorite subject. That's
fair.
fair. But yeah, I yell at her all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, you are good at math. Whether you like it or not, you're good at math.
I would love to hear your version of yelling. It's probably like, you're good at math.
No. Oh my gosh, I can't do it on demand.
I know.
I do it. I'm like, you do not say that. That's my.
You're firm. Yeah.
A firm voice, but
yeah,
it takes a lot to get me riled
I
up.
believe it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for being with us this week. We will see you again soon on a future episode. And if you guys want to join us in the next Progress Lab, we are actually looking to have it in 2025. We're not sure exactly when yet, but it'll be likely in the Panhandle area of Florida, like Rosemary Beach, like really beautiful beach house vibes. So just shoot us an email at support@hairofthedogacademy.com. Let us know you're interested. We'll put you on the short list and keep you posted once we figure out what those dates are going to be next year. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon.